My name is Jill Miller. I'm a trust and estates attorney. I've been practicing, I cannot believe it, for over 20 years. Okay, I have my own trust and estates law firm right down the street here, and I also am an adjunct professor of law at Fordham Law School, where I teach wills and trusts. I'm going to go this January on my 9th year. So don't worry, everybody, and the online viewers. I'm not going to be testing anybody at the end of this class. Actually, my goal for each one of you is that in 6 months' time, you're going to remember 3 things. That's it. Because I remember that I go to lots of seminars and you take down some great notes, but then, you know, in a couple weeks or a couple months, you don't remember anything that was said. So I'm hoping that you'll take away some 3 important points that you'll remember 6 months' time, and that'll impact your practice and what you do. And maybe since estate planning is for your family, maybe it might ring a bell that you can help your family at some point as well. And when I'm going through the lecture, as I highlight or I go over something that's more important, I'll bring it to your attention. I'll say, okay, maybe you might want to think about this as one of those 3 things. Now, the objective of this course is meant to cover the fundamentals. That's why it's titled The Associate's Guide. So we're going to start with the basics of estate planning, including discussing the basic set of estate planning documents for a client. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things, my first day of class, the 2 ways to pass property at death. We'll go over and review intestacy and what it means to the family, discuss some basic estate tax considerations. We'll discuss the typical tax-efficient estate plan, and we're also going to review some important non-tax considerations. I actually, find that when I'm doing my estate planning meetings with folks, that, yes, a lot of people come to us, trust and estates attorneys, and I'm a tax lawyer, to minimize estate taxes, and that is important. But I will tell you that almost equally as important, and sometimes the clients will find it more important, to talk about those non-tax considerations. And you can really, in some cases, add value to the clients by talking about some of these non-tax considerations. So part of the package of materials that was sent to you, I want to quickly go through all of them. During the lecture, we're going to touch on some of them, but a lot of these materials is meant for you to use as a tool to adapt or refer to in your own practice and put your own personal stamp on it. So the first thing I'd like to bring to your attention is the estate planning booklet. And this booklet is something that I hand out to clients and colleagues in advance of our meeting. My goal is hopefully that the clients will get a chance to review some of the materials, and that way when we're going to go over the estate planning concepts, they'll be coming in with some basic foundation. And in the event that they don't, we have them, and during the meeting I'll go through some of the points in the estate planning booklet, and I'll say, okay, you can refer to this later. So here's about the tax-efficient will, or let's think about life insurance trusts, or let's remind ourselves about the titling of assets, and then I'll go through the booklet and I'll circle the points for them to remember. Because these, the estate planning meetings, it can be really tough on some folks. You're going over some of the most stressful events folks can ever experience. So that's the estate planning booklet. One important note is that there's a chart in the back with the estate tax exemptions and rates. For the purposes of the booklet and for ease, I have the estate tax exemption amount at $5 million, even though it was indexed for inflation of $5,120,000, which we'll talk about in a moment, but that was just for ease of illustration. Okay. The next document I have here is the personal estate planning profile. Now, when we're going to be meeting with a client for their estate planning, we need to get an idea of what's going on with them, not only with their family, but with their assets. So this is a simple, one-sided, one-page snapshot that's meant to have the estimated assets of the clients with the liabilities, and also how it's titled. We're going to be going over that in a little bit, but the titling of assets is a very important part of coordinating your estate plan. So what I'm asking for the titling of assets is whose name is it in, especially when I'm focusing on a married couple. Is it in the husband's name alone? Is it in the wife's name alone? Is it joint? Okay, And if it isn't joint ownership, it could be with, if it's with husband and wife or with another party, maybe an adult child, what type of form of joint tenancy? Remember from law school the different types of joint tenancies, folks? Right? Yes? Okay. So tenants the entirety is for real estate between husband and wife. Tenants in common is different. How is it different? 1/2 undivided interest, okay? When we have tenancy of the entirety, that's a will substitute, which we'll go over in a moment, which passes by operational law to the survivor, kind of like without stop and go or collecting $200, it automatically goes. Whereas a tenant in common, it's a 1/2 undivided interest, which will be a probate asset, and we'll go through the probate process, okay? So we want to find about titling. Also, we want to find out about, we have a room here for life insurance, retirement accounts, beneficiaries. We want to make sure during our estate planning process that we touch base on the beneficiaries, okay? Is there a beneficiary, okay? Do we have a primary and a secondary, okay? Because these days, and we'll go over it in a little bit, so many of our assets are through will substitutes and have beneficiary designations. And for retirement accounts especially, there's tax considerations as well. And if you don't have a beneficiary on a retirement account, you can have unnecessary adverse tax consequences. And then on the bottom of the form, we have basic information about their children and grandchildren. Again, everybody should adapt it for what's good for them, but I personally like the one-sided one page because sometimes if you give too much to the client, it could be kind of obstacle of them, coming into the meeting like, oh no, I got to fill out this 3-page booklet, and oh, it's going to take me 3 hours, or so it's a one-sided one page meant for client ease. And then as you're going through it, if questions come up or you want to know more, you can ask and take that down. Very often with some of my clients, I'll say, you can fill it out, have your accountant fill it out, or have your financial advisor. Please feel free to attach sheets if you need it. Okay, so that's our estate planning organizer. Okay. The next paper is important persons in your estate plan, and the purpose of this is to send to clients in advance for them to have an idea of the key roles of an estate plan, so maybe they can have the arguments and the discussions and the thoughts about who those folks should be without maybe having a fight in your office, okay? It actually came out of, many years ago, a conversation with my old secretary where the client was going to come in and meet with me, and the client said, well, what do I need to prepare for? What questions do I need to answer? And then she came to see me, and we talked about it, and so here was the list was born. What's an executor? What's a trustee? What's a guardian? A healthcare agent? An attorney in fact for a power of attorney and successors. Meant to have easy to understand definitions for the regular person, not the lawyer, to understand the important roles, to hopefully come in prepared, because time means money, right? And plus, maybe it's one less fight in the office, right? So that's good. The last document that I have here, where we have the estate planning organizers given in the beginning. We have the important persons in your estate plan that's given in the beginning. This last document is meant at the end. It's the estate planning organizer, and it was actually just recently updated to become a little bit more modern to recognize all of our online world with passwords and PIN numbers and everybody doing their banking and brokerage and their lives online, and how important it is to have access to that information. So I typically give the estate planning organizer at the end. I like to be efficient and use the time in our meetings. So after I have all the estate planning documents executed, while my assistant